imagine a power so profound, so deeply woven into the fabric of existence, that it responds to the very vibration of your voice. The universe doesn't just hear you. It translates your words into reality, moment by moment. Speak in frequencies of fear, scarcity, or doubt, and the universe reflects them, brick by brick, into your world. But speak in the tone of courage, abundance, and vision, and watch as the hidden architects of destiny begin building your dreams. Are you ready to stop talking about the problem and start turning the problem into the solution? Hit subscribe and like, and let the magic of your words begin rewriting the story of your life. Introduction: the secret language that commands reality. Right now, as you listen to these words, there's a conversation happening inside your mind. It never stops. It's been going on since you woke up this morning, and it was probably the last thing you heard before you fell asleep last night. This conversation shapes everything you experience, everything you achieve, and everything you become. Most people are completely unaware of this internal dialogue. They let it run on autopilot, allowing years of conditioning, fear, and limitation to dictate the script. But you're about to discover something that will change everything. You're about to learn the secret language that commands reality itself. The way you speak to yourself isn't just important, it's everything. Your internal dialogue is the programming language of your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is the control center that operates your entire life experience. When you master this language, when you learn to speak to yourself in a specific way, something extraordinary happens. The universe begins to respond. Opportunities appear. Obstacles dissolve. Dreams manifest into reality. This isn't wishful thinking or mystical nonsense. This is practical psychology combined with quantum physics, neuroscience, and thousands of years of human wisdom. This is about understanding how your mind works at the deepest level and learning to use that understanding to create the life you truly desire. Over the next hour, you're going to discover why 95% of people struggle to achieve their dreams, why positive thinking alone doesn't work, and most importantly, the exact words and phrases that will rewire your subconscious mind for success, abundance, and fulfillment. You're going to learn about the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters reality based on what you tell it to look for. You'll understand how your internal dialogue creates neural pathways that either support or sabotage your goals, and you'll master the specific techniques that have helped millions of people transform their lives simply by changing how they talk to themselves. But here's what makes this different from everything else you've heard about positive thinking or manifestation. We're not going to tell you to simply repeat affirmations and hope for the best. We're going to show you exactly how to communicate with your subconscious mind in its native language. We're going to teach you to speak to yourself the way successful people speak to themselves, the way wealthy people speak to themselves, the way confident and fulfilled people speak to themselves. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why some people seem to have all the luck while others struggle despite working just as hard. You'll know why some people achieve their dreams effortlessly while others never get past the starting line. And most importantly, you'll have the tools to join the small percentage of people who have learned to make the universe work for them instead of against them. The transformation begins with a single realization. Every word you speak to yourself is either programming you for success or programming you for failure. There's no neutral ground. Every internal conversation is either moving you toward your dreams or away from them. Every thought you think is either expanding your possibilities or limiting them. Right now, your current reality is a perfect reflection of how you've been speaking to yourself up until this moment. If you're not completely satisfied with where you are in life, if there are dreams you haven't achieved, goals you haven't reached, or problems you can't seem to solve, the answer isn't out there somewhere. The answer is in here, in the way you communicate with the most important person in your life, yourself. Chapter 1. The hidden conversation that controls your life. Every morning, Sarah wakes up and the conversation begins. Before her feet hit the floor, her mind is already running through the day ahead. I'm so tired, she thinks. I don't want to go to work today. I have so much to do and not enough time. I'm never going to get caught up. Why is my life so stressful? By the time Sarah gets to work, she's already programmed her subconscious mind for a difficult day. Her reticular activating system, the part of her brain responsible for filtering information, is now scanning for evidence that supports her belief that the day will be overwhelming and stressful. And sure enough, everything that happened seems to confirm what she told herself that morning. Meanwhile, across town, Michael wakes up with a different internal dialogue. I feel energized and ready for today, he thinks. I'm excited about the projects I'm working on. I'm exactly where I need to be, and everything is working out perfectly. Today is going to be productive and fulfilling. Michael's reticular activating system is now programmed to notice opportunities, solutions, and positive experiences throughout his day. Both Sarah and Michael live in the same city, work similar jobs, and face similar challenges. But they live in completely different realities because they speak to themselves in completely different ways. Sarah has unknowingly programmed herself for struggle and stress. Michael has consciously programmed himself for success and satisfaction. This is the hidden conversation that controls your life. It's happening right now as you listen to these words. Your mind is either agreeing with what you're hearing, questioning it, or perhaps thinking about something else entirely. But whatever it's doing, it's creating your experience of this moment and setting the stage for what happens next. The average person has between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day. That's approximately one thought every 1 to 2 seconds during waking hours. Of these thoughts, studies show that about 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive. This means that most people are unconsciously running the same negative mental programs over and over again, day after day, year after year. These mental programs become the operating system of your life. They determine what you notice and what you ignore. They influence your decisions, your behavior, and your emotional state. They create your beliefs about what's possible and what's not possible. They shape your identity and your sense of self-worth. In essence, they create your reality. But here's the remarkable truth that most people never discover. You can change these programs. You can rewrite the script. You can learn to speak to yourself in a way that programs your mind for success, abundance, joy, and fulfillment instead of struggle, lack, worry, and limitation. The first step is becoming aware of the conversation that's already happening. Right now, pause for a moment and notice what your mind is saying. Is it commenting on what you're hearing? Is it agreeing or disagreeing? Is it planning what you need to do later today? Is it worrying about something? Is it judging or analyzing? This awareness is crucial because you cannot change what you're not aware of. Most people go through their entire lives without ever truly listening to their internal dialogue. They let their minds run on autopilot, reacting to whatever thoughts happen to arise, never realizing that they have the power to direct and control this conversation. Your internal dialogue operates at several different levels. There's the surface chatter, the running commentary about what's happening around you and what you need to do next. There's the emotional dialogue, the thoughts connected to how you feel about yourself and your circumstances. And there's the deep programming, the core beliefs and assumptions about yourself and the world that run in the background of your consciousness. All three levels are important, but it's the deep programming that has the most profound impact on your life. This is where your fundamental beliefs about money, relationships, success, and your own worthiness reside. This is where the limiting beliefs that keep you stuck are stored. And this is where the transformation must begin. The fascinating thing about your subconscious mind is that it doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. It simply accepts whatever you tell it as truth, and then works to make that truth a reality in your external experience. If you tell yourself that life is hard, your subconscious mind will find ways to make life hard. If you tell yourself that you're lucky, your subconscious mind will create experiences that confirm your luck. This is why two people can go through identical situations and have completely different experiences. It's not the situation that determines the experience. It's the internal dialogue about the situation. The person who says this is a disaster will experience it as a disaster. The person who says this is an opportunity to grow and learn will find the growth and learning opportunities within the same situation. Understanding this principle changes everything. It means that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You're not at the mercy of external events. You're not powerless to change your life. You have tremendous power, the power to choose how you speak to yourself about everything that happens to you. But with this power comes responsibility. Every word you speak to yourself matters. Every thought you think is either serving your highest good or working against it. Every internal conversation is either programming you for the life you want or keeping you stuck in the life you don't want. The question isn't whether you're having an internal dialogue. You are, constantly. The question is whether you're having it consciously and intentionally, or whether you're letting it run on autopilot based on old programming, past experiences, and external influences. Most people's internal dialogue has been shaped by their parents, teachers, peers, media, and society. They've internalized other people's beliefs, fears, and limitations without ever questioning whether these beliefs serve them. They speak to themselves the way others have spoken to them, perpetuating patterns that may have been passed down through generations. But you have the power to break these patterns. You can choose to speak to yourself with the same kindness, encouragement, and support that you would offer to your best friend. You can learn to be your own greatest advocate instead of your harshest critic. You can program your mind for success instead of accepting the default programming of struggle and limitation. This isn't about lying to yourself or denying reality. It's about choosing to focus on the aspects of reality that serve your growth and happiness. It's about speaking to yourself in a way that empowers rather than diminishes, that opens possibilities rather than closing them, that builds confidence rather than destroying it. The transformation begins the moment you decide to take conscious control of your internal dialogue. It begins when you realize that you have the power to choose your thoughts rather than being chosen by them. It begins when you understand that how you speak to yourself is how you create your world. Chapter 2. Why your current self-talk is keeping you stuck. Jennifer has been trying to lose weight for 15 years. She's tried every diet, joined multiple gyms, and bought countless workout programs. But every time she starts making progress, something happens. She gets discouraged, falls off track, and eventually gives up. The weight comes back, and the cycle begins again. The problem isn't Jennifer's diet plan or her exercise routine. The problem is how she speaks to herself. Every morning when she looks in the mirror, her internal dialogue sounds like this. I look terrible. I'm so fat. I have no willpower. I always fail at everything I try. Why can't I just be disciplined like other people? I'm never going to lose this weight. Jennifer doesn't realize it, but she's programming her subconscious mind for failure every single day. Her internal dialogue is creating neural pathways that reinforce her identity as someone who can't lose weight, someone who lacks willpower, someone who always fails. Her subconscious mind, which controls her behavior and habits, is simply following the programming she's giving it. This is why Jennifer sabotages herself every time she starts making progress. Her conscious mind wants to lose weight, but her subconscious mind has been programmed to maintain her current identity. When her actions start to conflict with her identity, her subconscious mind creates resistance, making it increasingly difficult to maintain her new behaviors. Jennifer's story illustrates one of the most important principles of human psychology. Your outer world will always match your inner world. Your external circumstances will always align with your internal identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, you'll continue to struggle with money regardless of how many financial strategies you learn. If you see yourself as unlucky in love, you'll continue to attract relationships that confirm that belief. This is why most self-improvement efforts fail. People try to change their external circumstances without changing their internal programming. They focus on strategies and techniques while ignoring the fundamental beliefs and self-talk patterns that created their current situation in the first place. Your current self-talk has been years in the making. It's been shaped by every experience you've had, every comment you've received, every success and failure you've encountered. Over time, these experiences have created a complex web of beliefs, assumptions, and internal narratives that now run automatically in the background of your consciousness. Many of these beliefs were formed when you were very young, when your critical thinking abilities weren't fully developed. A harsh comment from a teacher, criticism from a parent, or rejection from peers could have created limiting beliefs that you're still carrying today. A child who was told they weren't smart enough might grow up with an internal dialogue that constantly questions their intelligence and capabilities. The insidious thing about limiting beliefs is that they become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you believe you're not good with money, you'll make financial decisions that confirm that belief. If you believe you're not attractive, you'll behave in ways that diminish your attractiveness. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll unconsciously create situations that seem to confirm your bad luck. These beliefs operate below the level of conscious awareness. You don't wake up in the morning and decide to think limiting thoughts about yourself. These thoughts arise automatically, so consistently and persistently that you've stopped noticing them. They've become the background noise of your mental environment. But this background noise is incredibly powerful. It shapes your perception of reality, influences your emotional state, and drives your behavior. It determines what opportunities you notice and which ones you miss. It affects how you interact with other people and how they respond to you. It influences every decision you make and every action you take. Consider the difference between someone who thinks, "I'm not good enough," and someone who thinks, "I'm exactly where I need to be, and I'm constantly growing and improving." The first person will approach opportunities with hesitation and self-doubt. They'll second-guess themselves, avoid taking risks, and interpret setbacks as confirmation of their inadequacy. The second person will approach the same opportunities with confidence and curiosity. They'll take calculated risks, learn from setbacks, and see challenges as opportunities for growth. These two people could have identical backgrounds, identical opportunities, and identical abilities, but they'll create completely different lives because they speak to themselves in completely different ways. Your current self-talk patterns are also influenced by what psychologists call the negativity bias. This is your brain's tendency to give more weight to negative experiences than positive ones. From an evolutionary perspective, this bias helped our ancestors survive by staying alert to potential threats. But in modern life, this same bias can trap you in patterns of negative thinking that no longer serve you. The negativity bias means that your mind naturally focuses on what's wrong rather than what's right, on what's missing rather than what's present, on problems rather than possibilities. Unless you consciously direct your attention elsewhere, your internal dialogue will tend toward worry, criticism, and limitation. This explains why positive thinking alone doesn't work for most people. Simply trying to think positive thoughts is like trying to swim against a powerful current. Your brain's natural tendency toward negativity will eventually overpower your conscious efforts to stay positive. Instead of fighting against this tendency, you need to understand how to work with your brain's natural patterns to create lasting change. Another reason your current self-talk keeps you stuck is that it's often based on outdated information. The beliefs you formed about yourself and the world when you were younger may no longer be accurate or relevant, but they continue to influence your internal dialogue because you've never consciously examined or updated them. For example, you might have internalized the message that money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for everything you get based on your family's circumstances when you were growing up. These beliefs might have been true for your family at that time, but they may not be true for you now. However, if you've never consciously examined these beliefs, they continue to shape your relationship with money and work. Your current self-talk also reflects the cultural and social conditioning you've absorbed throughout your life. Society sends constant messages about what you should be, what you should have, and what you should accomplish. These messages become internalized and create internal pressure and comparison that can be incredibly limiting. The media you consume, the people you spend time with, and the environment you live in all contribute to your internal dialogue. If you're constantly exposed to negative news, critical people, or environments that reinforce limitation and scarcity, these influences will show up in how you speak to yourself. Breaking free from limiting self-talk patterns requires awareness, intention, and practice. You must first become conscious of the conversation that's happening in your mind. You must learn to question the validity of your limiting beliefs. And you must develop new patterns of internal dialogue that support your growth and success rather than hindering it. This process isn't always comfortable. Sometimes you'll discover that beliefs you've held for years aren't serving you. Sometimes you'll realize that the internal dialogue you thought was protecting you is actually keeping you small. Sometimes you'll need to let go of familiar patterns, even if they're limiting, because they've become part of your identity. But this discomfort is temporary, and it's the price of transformation. On the other side of this discomfort is a new way of being, a new relationship with yourself, and a new level of possibility in your life. On the other side is the ability to speak to yourself in a way that empowers rather than limits, that opens doors rather than closing them, that creates the life you truly desire rather than keeping you stuck in the life you're settling for. The key is understanding that your current self-talk patterns aren't permanent. They're not part of your DNA or hardwired into your personality. They're learned patterns that can be unlearned and replaced with new patterns that serve you better. You have the power to change the conversation in your mind, and when you change that conversation, you change everything. Chapter 3. The Science Behind Words and Reality Creation. Dr. Masaru Emoto spent years studying the effects of human consciousness on water. In his famous experiments, he exposed water to different words, thoughts, and emotions, then froze the water and examined the resulting ice crystals under a microscope. What he discovered was extraordinary. Water exposed to positive words like love and gratitude formed beautiful, symmetrical crystals. Water exposed to negative words like hate and you fool formed distorted, chaotic patterns. Since the human body is approximately 60% water, Emoto's research suggests that the words we speak to ourselves have a direct physical impact on our cellular structure. Every word you think, every phrase you repeat to yourself, is literally reshaping your body at the molecular level. But the science goes much deeper than water crystals. Modern neuroscience has revealed that your thoughts and words create measurable changes in your brain structure through a process called neuroplasticity. Every time you think a thought or speak words to yourself, you're creating and strengthening neural pathways in your brain. Repeat these thoughts and words often enough, and these pathways become highways of automatic response. Dr. Joe Dispenza, a neuroscientist and researcher, explains that when you think the same thoughts and speak the same words to yourself repeatedly, you literally become neurologically hardwired to create the same experiences over and over again. Your brain becomes addicted to familiar patterns of thinking, making it increasingly difficult to create new outcomes without consciously changing your internal dialogue. This is why people often find themselves stuck in repetitive cycles. The person who constantly thinks about their financial struggles becomes neurologically wired to notice and create more financial struggles. The person who repeatedly tells themselves they're unlucky in love becomes wired to attract relationships that confirm that belief. The neural pathways associated with these patterns become so strong that they operate automatically, below the level of conscious awareness. But here's the revolutionary part. Neuroplasticity works in both directions. Just as negative self-talk creates limiting neural pathways, positive and empowering self-talk creates new pathways that support success, abundance, and fulfillment. When you consciously change how you speak to yourself, you're literally rewiring your brain for new possibilities. Research conducted at the University of Pennsylvania by Dr. Martin Seligman showed that people who practiced specific positive self-talk techniques experienced significant improvements in their mental health, relationships, and life satisfaction within just a few weeks. The changes weren't just psychological. Brain scans revealed actual structural changes in areas associated with optimism, resilience, and emotional regulation. The reticular activating system, or RAS, is another crucial piece of the scientific puzzle. This network of neurons in your brainstem acts as a filter for the massive amount of information your brain processes every second. Your RAS determines what information reaches your conscious awareness and what gets filtered out. It's programmed by your beliefs, expectations, and most importantly, your self-talk. If you tell yourself, "I never have enough money," Your RAS will filter reality to show you evidence of financial lack. You will notice every bill, every expense, every financial challenge, while remaining blind to opportunities for income, abundance, or financial improvement. If you tell yourself, "I'm attracting abundance into my life," your RAS will start noticing opportunities, resources, and possibilities that were always there but previously filtered out. The RAS explains why two people can walk down the same street and have completely different experiences. One person, programmed for scarcity through their self-talk, will notice the closed businesses, the expensive prices, and the signs of economic hardship. Another person, programmed for abundance, will notice the thriving businesses, the opportunities for investment, and the signs of prosperity and growth. Quantum physics adds another fascinating dimension to understanding how your words create your reality. At the quantum level, reality exists in a state of infinite possibility until it's observed and measured. The act of observation collapses these possibilities into a specific outcome. Your consciousness, including your thoughts and words, acts as the observer that determines which possibilities become your reality. Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, a quantum physicist, explains that your internal dialogue is constantly collapsing quantum possibilities into your experienced reality. When you speak to yourself about limitation, lack, and struggle, you're collapsing infinite possibilities into experiences that match those words. When you speak to yourself about abundance, success, and joy, you're collapsing possibilities into experiences that match those higher frequencies. This isn't mystical thinking, it's quantum mechanics. Your words carry vibration and frequency, and these frequencies interact with the quantum field of infinite possibility that surrounds you. The universe doesn't judge your words as good or bad. It simply responds to their vibration by delivering experiences that match that frequency. The field of epigenetics provides even more evidence for the power of self-talk. Dr. Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking research showed that your thoughts and beliefs can actually turn genes on and off. Your internal dialogue influences the expression of your DNA, affecting everything from your physical health to your longevity to your cognitive abilities. When you speak to yourself with stress, fear, and limitation, you activate genes associated with stress response, inflammation, and disease. When you speak to yourself with love, gratitude, and possibility, you activate genes associated with healing, vitality, and optimal function. Your words literally influence which aspects of your genetic potential are expressed. The placebo effect demonstrates the incredible power of belief and expectation, both of which are shaped by self-talk. When patients believe they're receiving effective treatment, even if they're only taking sugar pills, their bodies often heal as if they were receiving real medicine. The patient's internal dialogue about healing and recovery triggers actual physiological changes that promote wellness. Studies have shown that the placebo effect can be as powerful as many pharmaceutical interventions. Patients who tell themselves this treatment will help me heal experience measurable improvements in their conditions. Their self-talk creates a biochemical cascade of healing hormones and neurotransmitters that facilitate actual physical recovery. Mirror neurons provide another fascinating piece of the puzzle. These specialized brain cells fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. They're part of how you learn and adapt to your environment. But research has shown that mirror neurons also respond to your internal dialogue. When you speak to yourself with kindness and encouragement, your mirror neurons respond as if someone else were speaking to you with kindness and encouragement. This triggers the release of feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. When you speak to yourself harshly and critically, your mirror neurons respond as if you were being attacked, triggering stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This means that how you speak to yourself has the same physiological impact as how others speak to you. Your internal critic can be just as damaging to your mental and physical health as an external critic. Conversely, your internal supporter can be just as beneficial as having a loving, encouraging friend. The research on self-compassion, conducted by Dr. Kristen Neff at the University of Texas, shows that people who speak to themselves with kindness and understanding have lower levels of anxiety and depression, better physical health, stronger immune systems, and greater resilience in the face of challenges. They also perform better academically and professionally because their internal dialogue supports rather than undermines their efforts. Heart coherence research, conducted by the HeartMath Institute, reveals that your emotional state, which is largely determined by your self-talk, creates measurable changes in your heart rhythm patterns. When you speak to yourself with appreciation, gratitude, and love, your heart rhythm becomes coherent and organized. This coherent heart rhythm sends signals to your brain that enhance cognitive function, emotional stability, and intuitive insights. When you speak to yourself with frustration, worry, or self-criticism, your heart rhythm becomes chaotic and erratic. This chaotic pattern sends stress signals to your brain that impair your thinking, decision-making, and problem-solving abilities. Your self-talk literally affects your heart's ability to communicate effectively with your brain. The scientific evidence is overwhelming. Your words have power. They create measurable changes in your brain, your body, your emotional state, and your perception of reality. They influence your genetic expression, your immune function, and your ability to heal and recover from challenges. They determine what you notice in your environment and what opportunities become available to you. Understanding this science changes everything about how you approach personal development and life creation. It's not enough to want things to be different or to take action toward your goals. You must also align your internal dialogue with your desired outcomes. You must speak to yourself in a way that supports and amplifies your efforts rather than undermining them. The most successful people in every field understand this principle intuitively. They've learned to use their self-talk as a tool for creating the reality they desire. They speak to themselves with confidence, possibility, and expectation of success. They program their RAS to notice opportunities. They activate the genetic expressions that support their goals. They create heart coherence that enhances their performance and decision-making. You have access to the same tools and the same principles. The science of how words create reality is available to everyone. The question is whether you'll use this knowledge to create the life you truly desire, or whether you'll continue to use your words unconsciously, creating more of the same experiences you've always had. The choice is yours, and the power is in your words. Chapter 4. The Universal Language of Success. At age 35, Oprah Winfrey was struggling. Her talk show was barely keeping afloat. Her personal life was in chaos, and she was facing significant professional and financial challenges. But something changed in how she spoke to herself. Instead of focusing on her problems, she began to speak to herself about possibility, purpose, and service to others. I started saying to myself, "I am exactly where I'm supposed to be," Oprah later revealed. "Everything is working out for my highest good. I am being prepared for something greater." This shift in her internal dialogue didn't just change her mindset, it changed her reality. Within 5 years, she had built a media empire and become one of the most influential people in the world. Oprah had discovered what all highly successful people eventually learn. There's a universal language of success, a specific way of speaking to yourself that aligns you with achievement, abundance, and fulfillment. This language isn't based on positive thinking or wishful hoping. It's based on understanding how your subconscious mind processes information and learning to communicate with it in its native tongue. The universal language of success has several key characteristics. First, it's written in the present tense. Your subconscious mind doesn't understand future or past. It only understands now. When you say, "I will be successful," your subconscious mind files that statement under someday, which never comes. When you say, "I am successful," your subconscious mind accepts this as current reality and begins to create experiences that match this identity. Michael Jordan understood this principle intuitively. Throughout his career, he spoke to himself as if he were already the greatest basketball player who ever lived. He didn't say, "I hope I'll be great someday," or "I want to be the best." He said, "I am the greatest basketball player in the world," long before the world recognized this as truth. His internal dialogue created the identity, and his actions and achievements followed naturally from that identity. The second characteristic of the universal language of success is that it's specific and detailed. Vague statements like, "I want to be happy," or "I want to be rich," don't give your subconscious mind enough information to work with. Your subconscious mind needs clear, specific instructions about what you want to create. Jim Carrey famously wrote himself a check for $10 million and dated it for Thanksgiving 1995. But more importantly, he spoke to himself as if he had already earned that money through his acting abilities. He would tell himself, "I am a successful actor earning $10 million per movie because I bring joy and entertainment to millions of people." The specificity of his internal dialogue helped his subconscious mind create a clear blueprint for achievement. The third characteristic is that the language of success is emotionally charged. Your subconscious mind responds more powerfully to words that carry emotional intensity. Dry, logical statements have little impact on your deeper programming, but words that evoke strong positive emotions create rapid and lasting change. When Tony Robbins was struggling as a young man, he didn't just tell himself he would be successful. He spoke to himself with passion and intensity. "I am destined for greatness. I have unlimited potential. I am committed to serving others at the highest level." The emotional charge in his self-talk created a powerful transformation in his neurology and his reality. The fourth characteristic is that successful self-talk focuses on identity rather than behavior. Instead of saying, "I am trying to lose weight," you say, "I am a healthy, fit person who makes choices that support my vitality." Instead of saying, "I am working to build my business," you say, "I am a successful entrepreneur who creates value for others." Identity-based self-talk is far more powerful than behavior-based self-talk because identity drives behavior automatically and effortlessly. The fifth characteristic is that the language of success includes statements of gratitude and appreciation. Successful people speak to themselves not just about what they want to create, but about what they're grateful for in their current experience. This gratitude serves multiple functions. It raises your vibration. It programs your RAS to notice positive aspects of your life, and it creates an energetic state that attracts more experiences worthy of appreciation. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history, regularly speaks to himself about his gratitude for the opportunities available in the market, the quality of the companies he owns, and the privilege of participating in the growth of the economy. This grateful perspective helps him see opportunities that others miss and make decisions from a place of abundance rather than fear. The sixth characteristic is that successful self-talk includes statements of certainty and expectation. Doubt and uncertainty create resistance in your subconscious mind and mixed signals in the quantum field. Successful people speak to themselves with absolute certainty about their eventual success, even when external circumstances might suggest otherwise. When Steve Jobs was building Apple, even during the most challenging times, he spoke to himself with unwavering certainty about the company's future success. He would tell himself, "We are creating products that will change the world. Success is inevitable. Everything is working out exactly as it should." This certainty wasn't blind optimism. It was a conscious choice to program his subconscious mind for success rather than failure. The seventh characteristic is that the language of success includes statements about service and contribution. Highly successful people understand that true fulfillment comes not just from what they achieve, but from how they serve others. Their self-talk includes references to the positive impact they're making and the value they're creating for others. Mother Teresa, despite working with the poorest of the poor, spoke to herself about the abundance of love, service, and meaning in her life. She would tell herself, "I am privileged to serve. I am making a difference. I am exactly where I'm meant to be." This service-oriented self-talk created a life of profound fulfillment and impact. The eighth characteristic is that successful self-talk includes statements about learning and growth. Instead of seeing challenges as problems, successful people frame them as opportunities for development. Instead of speaking to themselves about what they don't know, they focus on their capacity to learn and adapt. Elon Musk regularly speaks to himself about challenges as learning opportunities. When facing seemingly impossible technical problems with his companies, he tells himself, "This is making me stronger and smarter. I am capable of finding solutions. Every challenge is preparing me for greater success." This growth-oriented self-talk allows him to persist through difficulties that would discourage most people. The ninth characteristic is that the language of success is aligned with your deepest values and purpose. Sustainable success requires that your self-talk be congruent with who you really are and what you truly care about. When your internal dialogue is aligned with your authentic self, you have access to tremendous energy and motivation. Richard Branson's self-talk has always been aligned with his core values of adventure, fun, and challenging the status quo. He speaks to himself about business as an adventure, about work as play, and about challenges as exciting opportunities to do things differently. This alignment between his values and his self-talk has allowed him to build multiple successful companies while maintaining his authentic personality. The 10th characteristic is that successful self-talk includes statements about deserving and worthiness. Many people sabotage their success because deep down, they don't believe they deserve it. Successful people consciously program themselves to believe in their worthiness to receive all the good that life has to offer. Successful self-talk sounds like this: "I deserve success because I create value for others. I am worthy of abundance because I use my resources wisely. I deserve love because I give love freely. I am worthy of happiness because I contribute to the happiness of others." The 11th characteristic is that the language of success includes statements about timing and divine order. Instead of becoming frustrated when things don't happen according to their timeline, successful people speak to themselves about trusting the process and believing that everything happens at the perfect time for their highest good. This doesn't mean being passive or not taking action. It means speaking to yourself in a way that reduces resistance and anxiety while maintaining focus and determination. It sounds like, "Everything is unfolding at the perfect time. I am exactly where I need to be. The universe is conspiring to help me succeed." The 12th and final characteristic is that successful self-talk is consistent and persistent. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, and successful people understand that changing their internal dialogue is an ongoing practice, not a one-time event. They speak to themselves with intention and awareness every single day, gradually rewiring their subconscious programming for higher levels of success and fulfillment. The universal language of success isn't just about achieving external goals like money, recognition, or material possessions. It's about creating a life of meaning, fulfillment, and contribution. It's about becoming the person you're capable of being and expressing your highest,